So here's our next question. So we've got y equals x minus 3, x plus 2. And again, you don't know how to differentiate that unless you multiply it out. So you have to prepare for differentiation again. So we haven't changed anything, it's still y. It's just we're going to get x squared minus 3x plus 2x's. So that gives us minus x. And then negative 3 times a positive 2 gives us a minus 6. Okay, that's now in a form that you can differentiate. So, dy by dx, this is us now differentiating. Dy by dx, you're going to multiply by the power and reduce the power by 1. That's a term just in x, so that just becomes minus 1. And that's a constant term, that just disappears. So that's your answer, 2x minus 1. Our next example looks a bit more off-putting, but it's the same basic process. So that was question 2. Question 3. So we've got f of x equals x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x over root x. Now, they didn't tell us whether it was a y or whether it was an f of x. I've chosen to go with f of x. It doesn't matter as long as you're consistent. There we go. And now, we need to do something about this because we can't deal with the function in this form. So, root x, you know, is x to the power of a half, and if you take it up onto the top line, it's x to the power of negative half. But it's underneath all of these terms, so all of these terms need to be multiplied by x to the negative half. So x to the negative a half into x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x. And remember, 6x is the same as 6x to the power 1. So I'll put that in there because it's going to make it easier in the next step. And in each case, this has got a base of x, and we're multiplying terms together. So we're going to add the powers. So we've got x to the negative a half times x cubed. So that's going to be x to the power of negative a half plus 3. So negative a half plus 6 halves, that's going to be 5 halves. Here we've got, there's no number there, we've got plus 3 there, so if we multiply, that's 1 times a plus 3, that will still just give us a plus 3. And then you've got x to the negative a half times x squared. So x to the negative a half times x to the 4 halves. You're going to be adding those together. 4 halves plus a negative a half is 4 halves minus a half. That's 3 halves. And again, you've got 1 times negative 6 will give you a negative 6. X to the negative a half times x to the power 1. You're adding the negative a half to the 1. That's going to give you a half. So x to the half. Right, we have not differentiated yet. That's us preparing to differentiate. So we haven't written down that we differentiated because we haven't. Now we're going to differentiate. So now we have to say that's what we're doing. You don't have to write differentiating at the side of it, but that's what we're doing. So now we've got the dash there to show that we differentiated. We're going to multiply by the power and reduce the power by 1. So 5 over 2, take away 2 over 2 will give us 3 over 2. Now here we're going to be multiplying, it's going to be 3 multiplied by the 3 over 2. So we'll just write that down just now. And reducing the power by 1, 3 over 2, take away 1 is 3 over 2, take away 2 halves, which will give us 1 half. And finally, negative 6 multiplied by the power, multiplied by a half, and then we've got to reduce the power by 1, so a half, take away 1 whole, a half, take away 2 halves will take us down to a negative a half. Okay, so that's the differentiating done now. We have differentiated, but we have to finish the thing off. So that term is sorted. 3 times 3 is 9. So 9 halves, x to half. 6 times a half, well, half of 6 is 3. X to the negative half. And that's us done. That's a differentiated thing. If you were going to go on and do something with that, you might want to turn that back into a square root and a cube. And you might want to turn that into 1 over a square root. But as it stands, that'll do. We're not doing anything further with that.